The school board to order. This is item number 7. And the first item of business is to review and approve the April 4th, 2016 meeting minutes.
Any changes?
Okay, both parties have indicated that the minutes are acceptable as presented. So if you each sign one copy. That moves us to item number 3 on the agenda, discussion of financial information. And Mr. Reap has been requested to provide some financial information for the group and for the audience. So Mr. Reap, the floor is yours.
Well, I guess it would just be a review of the spreadsheet that the DEA sub-chair, if you will, it was Lyle and Jim, we went over. And as I continued to track those numbers, and at that particular period, if you recall, the amount of general fund revenue available was $773,779. And we met, we went over that, we kind of drilled down on the state spreadsheet that gives foundation aid. As indicated on that sheet when it was handed out, the moving targets obviously is what our ADM is going to be, what the tax valuation is going to be, and the biggest one probably is what our oil and gas payment is going to be. And so we've looked at that and shared that data. Since then, I've sent to both teams, I believe, a teacher calculator that shows if the base goes up this is what it costs. Also shared with both sides where we're at with the spreadsheet with 15, 16 staff members and what vertical movement, if everybody moved next year, would look like on that spreadsheet. Mr. Fay asked too for a printout from our other system FileMaker Pro to show each line item of salaries and benefits, and so I emailed that to him in March. So really don't have anything to add. I realized that in the minutes you discussed some things about that. So.
Any questions for Mr. Reap?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Fay?
well, we understand that it's a moving target for 15-16 and 16-17, 15-16. We know the moving target. The actuals for 14-15, you stand by those numbers?
Well, I suppose the expenditures that are in the budget.
I'm actually into the property taxes, state foundation aid, oil and gas.
Yeah.
Okay. Mrs. Fair, Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Fay?
We did some investigating, and we went and did some stuff, and we're looking at the property taxes for actual 14-15 of $7,536,135 and state foundation aid of $25,625,419. We went to the DPI website and pulled up the state or the School of Finance facts. On page D7 of the School of Finance facts, published from the DPI and gotten from the DPI webpage, states that local county revenue, which I'm assuming is property taxes, is $10,070,000, 418.02, and that state revenue, which I'm assuming is state foundation aid, is $26,992,775, and then there's a $2.3 million in federal revenue, which isn't even included in here.
Well, I'd respond to the property taxes. That would include all fund groups, building fund, debt service. What's on here is general fund. And the same would be true with any of that.
So what's on here is what we can actually look at.
That's what's in our that's the actual money we received in the general fund as adjusted, because out of the property taxes, you know, I don't have your worksheet, but that includes our building fund.
Mm-hmm.
It includes our debt service. In terms of state foundation aid, they adjust it for Medicare, and in some districts, they adjust it for, belonging to an REA.
So,
But these are the actual amounts in our budget, or in our financial printouts.
Mr. Reep, so are you telling me that you did not report to the state, that the state, or to the DPI, that state revenue is $26,992,000?
I'd have to look at the state financial report to verify that. I don't have that in front of me.
Do you want Mr. Reep to go
I
get the report?
guess what we're looking at, you know, is finding this and looking at actual 14-15 to actual 14-15 based upon the state, and seeing inaccuracies that we see.
Do you have a copy of that, Jim?
It's page D7 of the state school finance facts that I printed off of the DPI website. I know for a fact that we are not ready to agree on this number based upon these inaccuracies.
Mr. Fay, I will respectfully tell you that they are not inaccuracies. They are from our books, and I will stand behind that. If you would like Mr. Reep to go get the report, and then he can look at the differences and perhaps explain that. But as you well know, we cannot use building fund money for the general fund or for salaries and so forth. So saying they're inaccurate is inaccurate. You may say there may be discrepancies, and I understand what, I do understand what you're saying.
Discrepancies is okay, that's a good word then too.
But if you want Mr. Reep to respond to those, we need to give him a few minutes to pull up the report.
Are you requesting a recess?
Only if the DEA wants us to respond to that.
Yes, we're you know, right now we won't agree to this number based upon the discrepancies.
Okay, so my question is, are you wanting that question answered this evening? Then we would take a brief recess for Mr. Reeb to go take a look at the report and explain the discrepancies. Or if you're not wanting the question answered tonight, then we don't need to take a recess.
We'll move on, that's fine.
And just so that the parties are aware, if you're unable to come to a resolution this evening, this will be on the agenda again, and your agreed-upon target date of May 6th is rapidly approaching.
We're perfectly aware of that. We've had a proposal for every topic. We understand.
Okay, we'll move on. Financial information will be on the next agenda. Item number 4, oh, excuse me.
Dr. Sullivan,
Excuse me, yeah.
I do have some information that may help our discussion this evening, or at least in the future, that I wanted to present to you, that I believe you probably have this in pieces, but I asked Mr. Reep to put it together for us in a spreadsheet. This gives you the information on the horizontal, vertical movements, the career increments, and we know if looking at $773,779, just those movements alone come to $489,000. I'm going to hand this out so you can take a look at it, but I want everyone to have that information so that we know, you know, we have a staff that's moving, and so we need to make sure that you all know what that cost is.
Well, Mrs. Fair, is this a proposal or is this just information?
This is information. It was surprising to me when I asked Mr. Reep to put this together. I'm not handing out a proposal. I'm just saying, if you take a look at those costs without any raise, how much money that comes to, which really was a surprise to me. And if we are looking at the $773,000, almost $774,000 mark, $489,000 of that is going to be spent with the career increments, vertical and horizontal movement. So you can just see that, and I wanted you to have that information. I think that helps us as we look at, because we need to move our discussion along, and so we need to all have the same information as we're going to have to be talking about salaries pretty soon. This will help, I think, our discussion, so we know what that's going to cost. Mr. Reep, is there anything on this sheet that you would need to be explained?
I don't think so. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It has the notes there, and it has the grand total cost for this current year listed as we reviewed it with the DEA. And then that's probably the most important number to look at. The $22,998,000.
Mm-hmm.
Moving forward, everything is based on that. It's not based on how much money we received in 14-15. It's where we are now.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed here, Mr. Reep, that you've got an 8% increase in health insurance still on this sheet, but we talked about health insurance was probably increasing closer to 14%.
The marker in the budget right now is 14%. Obviously, that's a committee decision.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll wait until the Blues give us a suggested funding level reports in June. That committee meets. I'm just marking 14. It could be more, could be less.
Is it possible that it would be less than 8%?
I seriously doubt it. But
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Fair?
No, thank you. I just wanted us all to have that information and look at what the costs are.
Questions from the DEA?
I don't have any.
Okay. Thank you both. Item number 4. Discuss topics for negotiation. Item number 1, super block.
I'm understanding there were some questions when I was gone after reading the minutes, so I was just waiting to, did you need clarification on anything, or?
I think as chair, maybe I
Mhm.
should
Oh.
field that one, sorry.
Sorry.
I should have explained it a little bit better.
I
The
didn't.
discussion by the parties last time was, not to be disparaging to these gentlemen, but they said they don't have super blocks.
Yeah, yes,
So they-
exactly,
you know,
yeah.
They needed you here to clarify why it has been brought forth as a topic for discussion during negotiations, and so that's what the parties are looking for, is that kind of clarification about why.
Oh, okay. Well, as Lyle mentioned, every 6 day, we have a number of days, so every 6 day we meet, and it's called Super Block. The only problem is, we have assigned and unassigned minutes, and it's an 80-minute block, and 40 minutes of it is supposed to be our unassigned preparation time, our time. And then the other 40 minutes falls under assigned time. What they did was, all 80 minutes now is required for us to meet, and we do directed activities. So we don't have our own agenda during our 40 minutes, it's the whole 80-minute block. And so every 6 day, we lose our 40-minute prep time. So we're required to, I've in the past have had to read chapters out of books, so it's occasionally used as professional development. we look a lot at test scores and data, and don't get me wrong, that's very important to do that, but it's important to do that during our assigned time. And we have no problem if the principal wants us to meet down there and in his office and do that, but it should be during our 40-minute assigned time. So basically, we brought it up as a topic because we just would like the current contract to be followed. And
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you said it used to be 40 minutes and now it's all 80. When did it change?
we kind of tried to do more of a block scheduling as well, not necessarily block, but they scheduled our normal prep time, and then we have counselor or library computer lab. They were able to schedule that right after or right before, depending on, and so it's now 80 minutes in a row that you would have to work on things. Well, all 80 minutes now, instead of having your 40-minute prep and then the other 40 minutes go down to the principal's office or whatever the principal wants you to do, now it's all 80 minutes we're required to go down there. So we've lost our own prep time. And in the elementary, our prep time is very split. Mornings and after school, we have a lot of meetings and stuff, so that 40 minutes is the only really time slot that we get to work on things that we really need to work on. And we're losing it every 6th day, and it comes up to a little over 16 hours now, or this year and every year that we will be losing. And so we just would like the current contract to be followed, and if our principal, like I said, wants us to meet down in the office and look at those test scores, look at data, that's perfectly fine during our assigned 40 minutes during our assigned time. But our 40 minutes of unassigned time should be unassigned. We should be able to decide what we need to do in preparation for our class during that time. So basically, like I said, we lost our 40 minutes preparation time.
And is that
every
the
6th
same
day.
for all of the elementary schools?
K through 5.
Can you just walk me through an average day? I mean, I have children who go to elementary school, so I know their schedules, but I don't know what your schedule actually looks like. So just so I understand where the different pockets of prep time are, all of that. I just want to have a better understanding of it.
Okay, so my day, I'll just go with mine.
Okay.
Starts off, start at 8, and you have from 8 to 8:25 about. Usually you're visiting with teachers or, trying to meet up with your teaching partner, visiting with things that are coming up. 8:25, you pick up your kids. I have my reading block in the morning, and we do reading in some various language arts, phonics, word study, things like that. And we take guided reading groups. Then at 10 o'clock, from 10 to 10:40, it varies certain days. Day 1 I have art from 10 to 10:30. Day 2 I have super block. So from 10 all the way to 11:20, that's my super block. So 10 to 10:40 is assigned time, technically. So that would be my super block time. From 10:40 to 11:20 is when my kids go to gym and music, which would be my preparation time. And then at 11:20, I pick up my kids and I bring them back. We do a short activity in the classroom and I bring them down to lunch. And then I pick them up from lunch at 12:20. And I do writing workshop till about 10 after 1. We go into math until 2. From 2 to 2:15, I have recess. And then from 2:15, well, when I pick them up and they come in, about 2:20 to 3 o'clock, I have science and social studies until 3:10, and then dismissal. So,
Okay. And then your day ends at 3:45.
yes.
All right. Okay, and during the super block time is when you're meeting with your PLCs. Is that what you're doing?
No, not necessarily. No, actually, no. We're required to do whatever activity. So it varies in different buildings. A lot of times it is all focused on data. We watch videos sometimes on different techniques used in the classroom, like for guided reading and things like that. Reading coaches will come in and you'll watch videos and learn about different things like that. So it's not a time for my teaching partner and I to sit down and really visit about what's working, what's not. At our building, you know, we rotate reading, language, math, but our principal's very good. If we want to work on reading 2 weeks in a row, he'll let us do that, and so he's a little more flexible. I don't believe it's like that at every building, but it's not really, I have to meet with my teaching partner in the morning or after school, or during my 40-minute prep on different things. Like, we can't do lesson plans during that time at all. There's no correcting during that time, during Super Black. It is all usually looking at data, or, like I said, I've watched videos or I've read chapters to learn different techniques on different things.
And who decides the agenda or what's happening during that time?
Our principal decides, okay, we're doing reading this week, language 1 week, math 1 week. In the past, we've had previous reading coaches that have kind of made the agenda. Like the chapters that I had to read, that was from a reading coach. That was a while ago though. Now usually the principal comes up with the agenda, and some schools have like data binders and they bring them down and they look at testing scores and stuff, but you're not testing all year. So usually in the past when we've made common assessments, things like that during that time.
When you say you're looking at data, is it like on individual students and you're talking about data with individual students, or is it just global, here's what this new test is going to be like? I don't want to understand that, you know.
Most of the time it's with our students. So we look at benchmark assessments that we give, reading assessments, math assessments, any formative or summative assessments that we give, and then we decide, okay, if we're not seeing growth. A lot of times it's with benchmark assessments. So if we're not seeing the type of growth that we would like to see in that student, that's when we need to start really figuring out what we need to do to intervene. But if we want to meet with a specialist to do that, they can't come during our super block time anyway, so we have to meet at a different time. So we're trying to decide what to do, and then we have to go and meet with them on our own time too, but yeah.
Dr. Sullivan, can you clarify? I guess my understanding was that time was supposed to be for PLCs. Am I off on that super block time, or is it completely up to the principals what happens during that time?
It's not entirely up to the principals, but taking a look at data and common formative assessments and reviewing student performance is part of functioning as a PLC.
Okay.
I mean, that's exactly what the PLC philosophy is that the faculty's been trained on.
Okay.
And but Ms. Berglund is correct. There have been times when the reading coaches have come in to provide some professional development on reading instruction. That happened more frequently a couple of years ago when Lucy Culkin's writing workshop was introduced into the school district. So that did happen, but that was professional. You know, there were some professional development activities that went into that.
And just, so you said that 40 minutes is assigned time that is supposed to be your super block, and 40 minutes is prep. And so I guess I'm just trying to figure out what changed or why it's a problem now when it wasn't before. So before you only had 40 minutes where you were meeting to review data, and now it's all 80. Now you're required to be there for all 80?
Oh, sorry. Well, it's always been a problem. We've always lost our prep. It's been a problem for a long time. It's just now, I guess, we're speaking up, I guess. But I mean, we've always lost our prep every 6 days. And so, and it's, I think, gotten maybe more strict or worse at certain buildings, maybe, but I just feel that, I mean, it is very important, like we said, to look at those test scores and data and stuff, but it's important to do that during our assigned minutes and not during our unassigned minutes. I mean, if I give a test one day and I need to know how they did, and I want to correct them during that time, I should be able to do that during my unassigned time, and then I can go through, I mean, I should be able to decide what is important that day during my 40 minutes and the other 40 minutes, absolutely, whatever is assigned to us or whatever is directed to us, we'll meet down there and do that. But just the 40 minutes of unassigned time, I mean, we already are really short on time with a lot of stuff, so it's, a lot has been thrown on our plate, and so the more things that get thrown on your plate, and then the less time that you have, it makes it harder. And I think that's why over the years now it's become more of a problem than it has in the past, maybe.
Okay, so can you help me understand the difference between assigned and unassigned time? Because I just thought assigned time was when you were with students, and unassigned time you were not with students.
It's actually in our contract, under school day, item number 3.
Oh, yeah, I know the hours. I know
Okay.
it was in the contract. I'm just trying to understand what the definition of those times are to you.
Well, unassigned, okay, you can help me out with that. Or,
The definition of assigned time is to give or allocate, allot. Basically, when there is a itinerary or something to that effect, that's assigned. Unassigned is when you decide as an instructor to correct papers or to do something, if it's read an article for the betterment of your students. This has been a discussion, this was a discussion between Dr. Sullivan and myself since I took over the presidency. And so it has been a problem. It was something that we tried to work on then. It was part of the last bargain. And another definition is to give someone a particular job or duty to require someone to do a particular task. And when that's happening, they don't get to correct papers and they don't get to do the things that they need to do. Feedback's imperative, and it should be done in a timely manner. And to do it, these individuals are all taking their work home. And when you ask the question as to why is it a problem now, it always was, I assure you. But when you keep adding and adding and adding, and the last monster was a grading program that is so massive and takes so much time that it just piles on. With the last, I don't want to say that word, but our Common Core grading program, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and you're looking at things going, well, my goodness, I don't have any time at all now to do my correcting and to work with my peers and to talk to my people. This is what I'm hearing from other individuals at other schools. It's just, they're done.
Basically, elementary teachers take so much work home outside of their workday. I don't really think a lot of people understand how much they really do after they leave the day, okay? Now, even though it may seem like just 40 minutes every 6th day, that 40 minutes is precious, and it's not there. So that's time that they have to go home and do work that they don't get to spend with their families, that they either have to show up way early to get work done. It's basically, it's taking time away from stuff they can do during their day and making them do it at home. And our elementary teachers do enough outside of the workday. It does, said, you shouldn't say, well, it's only 40 minutes every 6th day. It adds up.
So it's sounding to me like maybe is the core problem that you feel that the time is not being used efficiently?
no, the problem is that our contract is not being followed appropriately. That 40 minutes of unassigned time, I should not have an agenda but my own. And, I'm a professional and I should be able to decide what is important for me to do that day during that 40 minutes. I mean, to not have your prep at all, and then sometimes you even have to prep for super block, and then you get all your documents and everything together. You have to do that during your other prep in the morning or something, and then you go to super block and you're looking at all this data and all this stuff, and then after school you're taking it home. And it's just, I don't understand why it wouldn't just be followed in the first place. That those 40 minutes, like he said, is very precious. And every 6th day you're losing it. There's, I mean, every K through 5 educator has been dealing with this for a long time. And with all the new curriculums and everything being added and more, you're already taking all these things home to read every night to make sure that you're doing it, using the correct language and doing it the right way and everything. That 40 minutes is really important. So it's just, it's not that the time is not being used efficiently. It's the 40 minutes of assigned time. That's, like I said, it's perfectly fine for us to go down there and look at that data and do what he wants, because it's important for you to be able to meet with your principal and do those things. And if that's what he wants us to do, or she that day, great, but that it should only be for 40 minutes. So super
Take
block
the 40,
should,
but don't take the 80.
Yes,
Is basically
exactly.
what you're saying.
so we could call super block the 40 minutes, and then your prep just stays the same. So it'd be the same schedule and everything, but
Okay.
yeah.
What, I guess maybe I need to understand what was the purpose of the super block in the first place. Is it,
This should provide time for the teachers to collaborate together on the 4 critical questions of becoming a PLC. To take a look at what do we want students to know and be able to do, which is setting learning targets and things of that nature. How are we going to determine when they know it? Or how do we respond when they know it? How are we going to know when they know it? How do we respond when they know it? And how do we respond when they don't know it? We take a look at common formative assessments, develop common formative assessments, give the common formative assessments to their students, then bring the results back and take a look at the data and determine how things went, if there are things that they need to go back and reteach, and collaborate together on all of those components.
okay, and is that not what's happening now?
Yes, but for the whole 80 minutes.
Was it designed to be 80 minutes, or was it designed to be 40 minutes?
It was designed to be 80 minutes, the super block, when it was implemented. It was designed as an 80-minute block.
Now, in looking at the contract here, it says in the average day, this will allow each teacher a minimum of 45 minutes for lunch and 1.5 hours for preparation, so that'd be an average day. So if you're every 6th day on this, that seems to be not average. I mean, it seems like it averages out, or not.
I guess I didn't read it like that.
Well,
Nobody does.
I read it more as in your workday. This is what you should be allotted in your workday.
And as instructors,
And
we
then
see
have to
that,
say-
we interpret that to mean, you know, if we have a crisis in our school and we have to meet, we go there. We do what we
Absolutely, yeah.
can, we have a special meeting or whatever, we drop whatever we're doing. I mean, our prep means nothing, whatever we're doing. Our lunch, whatever, we go there. If we have a student in crisis or our school has a situation or we have a celebration, I don't. But when it's scheduled every 6th day, that they don't view it like that either. I can tell you that they don't, and I guess I'll leave it
And
at
I
that.
could guarantee you, I don't know that there's an elementary teacher in their average day that has 90 minutes of preparation. Not with the time where kids are coming in the morning, kids are there after school, kids are there during your lunch hour. I think you'd be hard pressed to find an elementary teacher who in the average day has 90 minutes of preparation. There's no way.
so maybe we need to rework that to make it more realistic then.
Rework.
Work what?
What, ma'am?
What do you
Well,
say?
this right here, if you're saying you never get that, so why wouldn't we rework it to make it more realistic or make sure that the day is what it is?
Rework the contract?
No, you've got, yeah, right here, you're saying you don't interpret this as an average day, you're not getting 45 minutes, so why don't we make it more realistic?
I think it's simpler.
One thing we could, I mean, I believe it is a goal to have 90 minutes a day. That I believe is the intention. But we don't say that that's the goal. We say that you will have that, and it's maybe not attainable every day.
Yes, with emergencies, like he said, or you have
Something-
parent phone calls, or you have things that you need to do, you use that time. But this is something that was scheduled by the district. That's different.
I think what, I listened to Mr. Smith here, and he talks about, something that's out of the ordinary. So I'll call it extraordinary, so, but now every 6 days, it's no longer out of the ordinary, now it's becoming the ordinary.
So I guess my concern is I don't know that we can, unless we're going to do like what Mrs. Ferry was just talking about, I don't know that we can address this problem through the negotiated agreement. It's an administrative problem because the language is already in the negotiated agreement. If there's a misunderstanding about how that time is being used, then that certainly needs to be addressed, but I would think that would have to be addressed not at this table in an administrative way. And I don't want to be insensitive to you at all. I mean,
No, I understand.
I told you, I taught for a few years. I was at the school all the time. The janitors knew me really well because I was there, and I get how hard, like, it's a job that just never ends. It's always on your mind. You're always doing things for it. But I think it's like trying to take a chainsaw when we need a scalpel. Like, we've got to fix it in some other way. Otherwise, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is to make the contract match what's happening now, which I don't think is what you want.
Okay, so what would you suggest then?
Well, if you go back to, what I don't know what are you asking for us to do?
We would just like it to be the current contract following. So our schedule stays the same, and every 6 day you still have your prep, and then when your prep is over or before your prep, depending on when it is, then you go to super block, and super block is the 40-minute time slot that's assigned time. And
So has this been a discussion that's been brought to your principals and gone up the chain?
you mean like a grievance?
Well, no.
No.
Have you guys talked
No,
about it?
no, sorry, I didn't mean it. I was just asking, I didn't know.
That is.
I didn't mean it. I was just asking, I didn't mean to
We did
scare
not
anybody.
But that would be
No,
the
but I
direction.
just.
Well, hopefully
You mean like
it
bringing
could be
up to-
solved, by talking to your principals, because, and I know we're not necessarily seeing it the same way, but if I'm a teacher and we have a super block for 80 minutes, but the work that we're getting done there is work that I would have to do anyway, like going over my students' data and then making an assessment, and it's helpful to me, then I don't mind that I'm doing it in a group and that my supervisor is there, and that, then it's fine because it's time well used. So to me, that would still be prep time to me if it was accomplishing what needed to be accomplished that I would otherwise have to do after school on my own.
Okay, I do understand what you're saying. Yes, you are preparing for your students, but during the 40 minutes when you are being told to do this certain thing, and you, as an educator, really needed to do this certain thing during your unassigned time, then I should be able to do that. I shouldn't have to do this during my unassigned minutes. So I guess there's just a discrepancy between assigned and unassigned minutes that I guess I don't know if it can't be. We thought we would try to bring it up at negotiations to get this solved. It seems like a simple problem, but I didn't think it was going to be this big
Well,
of
I
a...
mean, what would be a proposal to fix it in the negotiated agreement? That's what I don't.
I'd like to clarify one thing, if I could. It's been said over and over that it's prep time, and so much of it isn't. I was this morning, and I apologize I didn't bring them along, but I was reading a bunch of the itineraries, and it looked a whole lot more like professional development than it does the preparation. It really does. There's agendas, there's books to read, there's all sorts of things to do. You have to get ready. Those numbers binders that you call them, the whatever, those numbers don't get in those binders by themselves. And it's a piece to a larger picture. In sitting through the SLP situation, and then I wasn't here at the board meeting, but in reading the paper, it's over and over. Dr. Sullivan and others have basically cloaked themselves in our negotiated agreement to make decisions, and we're simply asking reciprocation. Works both ways. It's clear what assigned and unassigned means, and I believe that the people that wrote that language in the negotiated agreement chose those two words because they were so clear. They didn't cloud anything. It's, I'm telling you what to do. I admire you as a professional, and you do it. Not that I'm telling you what to do is wrong, but it's clear. I guess I don't want to make it sound any stranger than what it is, but those are two excellent words. And some have used directed. Directed is the same as assigned.
Well, first, we can't talk about anything other than negotiations, so we won't address your reference to SLPs. I mean, I understand you're giving it as an example, but that's something
That's all
that's
it is.
ongoing that we can't talk about.
It's in the paper.
Right, I understand.
Okay,
But
but-
we are in a position where we can't speak about it.
Okay?
So just so you, not like, I don't mean to be disrespectful on that. I'm wondering, because I am not a teacher, is prep time contract time? Is that what it can be called? I don't, and it's part of the contract? I mean, it's contract time?
It's part of the workday.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's part of the workday.
Yep, okay.
And it's part of the unassigned minutes that it's, yeah. There's so much more than just prep. I mean, you understand?
Yeah, I don't see a good way to address it here. I mean, I looked at other people's contracts to see if they addressed it in any way, and I was surprised to see that most other districts only get 50 or 60, or it's not even listed in their contract at all, how many minutes they get. And so I was pleased that we're giving our teachers an average of 90 minutes to get done what they need to get done. I think that's great. But, I mean, if we take this back to the board and then say, look at all these other, I don't think it's going to be a move in a good direction.
Possibility it could be a memorandum of understanding on protecting the integrity of those 40 minutes. Because, like I said, it's a small part. It's a part of a much bigger problem. I mean, I don't know if anybody understands that, with the elementary report cards, kindergarten has almost 8,000 checks that they have to make throughout the year. It's huge, and second grade is 7,200 checks, and it's just so many things are being put on the plate and put on the plate and put on the plate, and there's never anything taken away. That's the thing.
Well, that's true probably in almost every career, too.
No, it's not really.
Nobody has additional responsibilities once they get a job. I mean, I understand what you are saying, but other people have the same situation, I would say.
Yeah.
I just, super block is it's not something that we designed. It's not in the purview of the board. I don't think it's in the purview of negotiations. I think it's something that needs to be talked about and discussed with the people that it pertains to. I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I just don't think that I can address it here.
I don't know. And I guess as Mrs. Rick said, if we would bring this back to the board's attention, what I would assume we would look at this and read it the way I read it, which is in an average day. So every sixth day is, that you've got an average day. And so if you took and averaged all those out, you probably would have the time. I mean, that's how a person would look at that.
Yeah, and I think too, in reading assigned and unassigned, you know, in looking that up, in most contracts, it means having students versus time you don't have students. And so I just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I can make any more comments that
We haven't already said, I don't know.
Okay.
I tried.
Should we go to the next one then? Or-
It's not gonna go away. It's every meeting.
it's okay. You can have discussions about it. We just can't fix it with a sledgehammer. It's not gonna.
Okay.
Well, that's a good point.
I'm ready to move on.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Number 2, recruitment of highly qualified and experienced teachers.
Where did we leave this one?
It was in your ball court. You were taking him back.
Right to HR.
Yep.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Can we just have like 2 minutes, please?
Meeting was in recess.
Right. Yep. And we took the calendar so I can see what. Can you read my script?
Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. Smith. If you could just explain, first off, like, what Wisconsin school block is.
You're the one to talk to.
I'm really surprised. I thought this about.
Press here. Yeah, you are. I was wondering if you could just explain to me a little bit, quickly, it says here what the concept of school block is and
Can I share something with you guys?
That's what I was thinking.
I was talking about something, I don't know that I didn't fully realize it until it was brought to my attention. And my brain works a little different, but I said, oh, let me check something. And these are the numbers, I don't know if you're checking.
I didn't know there was that many, but I didn't either.
The checks don't make no sense. Now this is just, and I realize that you don't do them all at once, or you don't do them individually. I don't walk over to the computer and make a checkbook. So these are like a checkbook, but I have to wrap my brain around it. My head thinks different. But I took from 8 to 3:45, and I only took off for lunch. That gives you 420 minutes times 175 days that you have students. That's the available minutes in your classroom. Okay, I didn't take off for break or anything like that. And these numbers are, I had to go back and say, are you kidding me? 788, are you for sure? And it walked me through the process. This is our,
These are the checks, or these are minutes?
these are the checks and
These
the
are the
report
checks,
card.
the skills that
So
they
you would
have
have
to
to do
check
one
with
every
each
time.
student.
But it's another, it's a beast, and they have to write it in their quote area.
No.
And that's over and above.
Yeah, thank you.
I went back here. And I felt like I was older back then. Sorry. Had to come back here. I was like, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I just didn't want to do anything out of order. Okay, let's just do that.
Okay.
Air conditioning is like,
Are you ready?
yeah.
Meeting will come back to order. Mr. you have the floor.
Yeah, Mr. Fay, we were just looking at these, that's why I need to talk to Mrs. Ricks. The next two topics here, we put together a proposal that would encompass those. And with your permission, what I was hoping is we could just put those, I could just hand them out to you and we could look at the language. It would-
For 2 and 3?
For 2 and 3, and then there's one more, which would be, let's find
This
it.
one, 14.
On number 14, I just included that in there, but that would give us 3 language things. What I was thinking of is we're looking at the deadline, or our own self-imposed deadline looming, and I thought, well, what if we could knock off 3 of them at once? And they're all language things. Would that be acceptable to look at it that way?
We're more than willing to look at any of your proposals.
Okay, well, and this is language things, and we said we were going to go research them, so then I thought, well, maybe rather than handing them out, then going back, and would that be, if that's acceptable to you, I'll just hand these out to you. I think there's not, let me see, there's 3 there. That's not right, I gotta give you one more, sorry. Right, that doesn't seem right. 4, there we go, thank you. So, that one for Vince too. So the first one in here was, so this would be a proposal, this would be our first proposal. We wanted to package them because they seem really similar. First one is the National Board Certification. And I want to thank Mr. Smith for looking this up and bringing these things to our attention, on some, bringing some of that to our attention, so that, and some of the other language as well. Plus being more inclusive with the language. I believe this first one is similar to what we have talked about before. And this is at the very end of the contract, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a fair question?
Yeah.
What was your reasoning for striking certified for each year they remain employed as a teacher with DPS, as that is already a current part of the contract? What was your reasoning for striking those words?
I am not certain on that. There was some research that Dr. Sullivan and Mr. Reep did on that. Maybe I can ask Dr. Sullivan on that one.
If there's no real reason you can think of, then why do it?
Dr. Sullivan, do you remember what that was referring to?
Give us a look and see
Yeah.
what I did. When you asked me for that, because it's not in the DEA's proposal that I recall.
Oh.
Yeah,
Is
so
it
it
in your
wasn't in their
language?
proposal, so it was out of respect to the DEA proposal.
Do you have that? I don't believe I have it. Well, I do have it.
Yep.
That was
Oh,
on,
it is out, yeah, it's not in,
April 4th, 2016.
right. It is not in your language, so we left it out.
Yeah, so this is the exact language, almost. what
It's
they
almost the
gave us.
exact same language.
Almost the exact same language the DEA proposed on April 4th.
Which is this one?
Which one?
It's not.
This one
But-
was.
Yeah, I believe the only
This
change
one
was
here.
switching certified staff to teachers. And that's it.
Yeah.
Reassures that it does reoccur annually.
Mhm.
So, it's a moot point.
Correct.
We just want to ensure that those people who do earn that will receive that $1,000 payment annually. It won't be just a one-time shot. And-
Which is on that note.
Which is in the note. So
you know, one thing just I wanted to comment, how we view this is it's one more way that a person can earn additional income, and it's under your control. If you want to make 1,000 more, you can do that. Is there anything else on that one?
Nope.
Okay, well, the next thing in here is under the title names and acrimonious items. And the change we proposed, again, as Mrs. Ricks brought up before, is item F. Just a modification to that. So reminder how then the meeting's over.
What?
We have no questions.
And the last one then is the recruitment of highly qualified teachers. And that's, again, I wanted to thank Mr. Smith for doing the research on that and finding, we've now been able to update our HR for the vocationally certified teachers, which we didn't know there'd been a change.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Fay?
Mrs. Fair, I do believe that we can take this back to the DEA. I do believe with the explanations as put forth and a clear-cut century code definition of everything, I think that it could be ratifiable. But again, it's still up to the members of the DEA, but we could take it to them.
Great, so can we put it down as a tentative agreement, as we've done with the language?
Yeah, because we won't take it back to them individually. That's
Right. Right.
What's that?
We should wait.
You want it?
Yeah, we can do it in 5 minutes next time. We should wait.
Okay,
I just want to look through it one more time.
Pursuant to my team, he would like to just take one, have this as the first item of agenda for next time to tentatively agree, and give us another opportunity to look at.
Just one thing, if you don't mind me pointing out, I believe it's on that second one, the titles, names, and acrimonious items. We really just, in thinking about that, we just thought of Mr. Geierman and thought, why don't we just put that in? Because that's what he's gonna say. You know, I mean, really, we thought about it, and we thought, you know, why are we hassling over that? And we already went to court on, and that's what the judge said. So why not just put it in how it is?
So these three topics as a package will be placed as at the top of the agenda, maybe not the first item, but at the top of the agenda for a possible tentative agreement at the next meeting. Okay. Are there any other proposals from either party? Sarah, do you have any more at this time?
No,
Okay,
thank you.
Mr. Fay?
We only have one left.
Where's my light?
Comments?
Sure.
Mr. Chair, 3 minutes.
The meeting is reset. You're going across the hall.
Okay. Hey, Vince.
Alright. You guys dug the state report. It's filed it with finances. Mr. Coleman has. And I also pulled our board approved report.
I think our mics are on.
Yeah, they are still. Well,
Yeah.
here's this number.
Yep.
Here it is. Sorry that I rounded up to 135 instead of 170.
Right.
Here's this number. Exactly, except I left a quarter under. And here's our county money. We got all three.
So what is the discrepancy exactly what you're saying?
Well, the discrepancy is that he looks up some stuff that he doesn't understand and he reports it as simultaneously, which I take offense to. I ask him every single time you come in, if you have questions, I'll teach you about school finance.
Exactly.
And obviously, that's upset. I'll call the liar and the cheater in so many words.
Trying to do is get this.
And here's the deal, it has nothing to do with this year.
You know it.
Doug, are you going to mention that?
I'm going to try to get it in.
I'm going to
Okay.
wonder if we can
I
just,
can't guarantee because I don't know what's going to happen.
maybe I can.
Because otherwise you would want to.
It's going to be a little bit more detailed. In a polite way.
Unnecessary work is school teacher salaries don't come out of those funds. I think he just corrected it. Yeah. It's transparent as could be, but they choose to try to devise a way to. Oh, that was it. Or nothing in the place. Yeah. Federal money, 28% of their salaries are spent.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I made 50 copies.
Do you want to keep that? You're more interested in that, I suppose. We're going to just take a picture. Or what do you want to do?
Meeting will come back to order, please.
We went back and we practiced, and we are going to throw out a proposal. And this is going to be a salary proposal.
Okay.
Mr. Schobinger kind of has a little bit of the floor here, if you want
wow.
to take it.
You just want me to throw it out? Okay, well, pass it around and we'll get it back here.
Back here. I'll take it back.
Do you want me to do some clarification?
Go for it.
Go for it?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you're faster than I am. That. Oh yeah, I see that. Ada, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Schobinger? Are you? I thought.
Do you like some clarification on what we did? Oh, I'm sorry, I was waiting to see if there were any questions.
Well, we would like you to present it.
Okay. Now, we do not have the current schedule right in front of us, but one of your topics was recruitment of highly qualified teachers, and so when I sat down and we looked at how things were, and one of our topics was to fix the matrix. And if you go and you look across the top, okay, so if you go across the top and there in the light number is 0.03, BS plus 8, 0.03, and then 0.03, 0.035, 0.04, and so forth. We actually backed off at the BS plus 24. That used to be a 0.04 step, okay, because we want to get people, you know, to get more credits, be more highly qualified. But what we did is we fixed the salary matrix also going vertically to match the horizontal steps. And we also then added $1,500 to the base.
Is it to the base, Mr. Schobinger, just for clarification, or the calculating base?
The calculating base, yes, yes. And so, you know, if, you know, let's just, I think I have, currently, let's just take a look at first year teacher. We hire a first year teacher at BS plus 0. Currently, they would be at $43,920. Under here, they'd be at $45,750.
So what is the total cost of your proposal, Mr. Schobinger?
The total cost of the proposal, when we used information given to us, would be about 1.7? 1.7.
So how would you propose the district would even be able to think about that when there's only $774,000 in new money?
Mrs. Fair, we have not agreed to those numbers.
Well, it's certainly not going to be another million. I mean,
Well, okay.
you could be off a little bit, but it's certainly not going to be another $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We've done a little research. Okay, we've sat down and we've looked at quite a few things. And I'm going to be honest, we came into this, the four of us came into this with pretty open mind. We came into this, honestly, with the mindset that, you know, we're not going to ask for an overabundance. But the couple things that we did throw out there basically has come back as not even, you really didn't even give it much of a chance. You didn't kind of say, oh yeah, that's something, you just kind of threw it us. So we've gone and done some work. So I went and looked at the ending fund balance over the last 6 years of the top 9 schools. Okay, so 2,000 and above. So that would be Jamestown and above. Top, you know, so enrollment of 2,000. Top 9 schools. And we looked at the ending fund balance, which basically is the percentage of the expenditure that we have left over, okay, that we roll over. And most of the big schools, I'll call them the Class A schools for lack of better words, they roll over anywhere from 15 to 20%. I took the average of what those schools roll over. For example, Bismarck is low. All right, 13.16%. Fargo, 22.8. And so I have those averages. We roll over on average over the last 6 years, 29.16%. The next closest school to us is Fargo at 22.8.
Now, you do understand that a lot of that money was already allocated for purchase of land, for Prairie Rose Elementary and for the new middle school.
This is of our budget.
We're not talking
Those
about.
towns are
We're-
building
no.
schools too.
We're right here, the expenditure of our budget, okay? We roll over 29%. If we just took, now these are averages, these aren't, I'm not talking dollar amounts, these are averages. If we just took the next highest school, which is Fargo, at 6.36%, and we average that over the 6 years, that's $1,916,465 per year that we spend less of a percentage of our budget than those schools. That's just the Fargo. Now, if I take the average of our schools, it's 8.97%. That's $2.7 million. Okay? 2.7. So that's $2 to $2.7 million that we're not spending on our kids
What makes you
in
think
comparison to the other schools.
that? What makes you think that money isn't being spent on students?
It's more money rolled over. We spend less, a smaller percentage of our budget than any other Class A school in our state by a large sum. A large sum, 1.9 to 2.7. I mean, like I said, the next closest school. And these are dollar percentages. I mean, that's money that we could be spending on books and technology and quality transportation. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Right. Those are budget items, and, you know, we don't negotiate the budget here. Now, what you're telling us, those items, I don't know why you think they wouldn't have been spent on students. They're not just sitting, the money isn't just sitting there. The board allocates that carryover money every single year. And it is spent, perhaps you're purchasing buses the next year, it may be paid for on the next year.
Mrs. Fair, respectfully, you don't want to get started on buses, because I ride them 6 months out of the year. Please
Well,
don't go there, okay? That would be-
I'm just simply not
I
going,
know.
I can't discuss the budget at this table.
But
When you're
Mrs. Fair,
talking about
okay.
that carryover, if you need to talk about.
You did ask the question, how do you propose we pay for that?
Right.
And Mr. Schobinger is answering that
He's
question.
telling you.
And
But to
here's-
insinuate that the board is not spending money on students is wrong.
Okay, fine. Then we have a lot of money that we have left over. A large percentage of our budget is left over compared to every other Class A school in our state. And if we go look, if you want, we can look at, and we didn't even come in here, like I said, we didn't come in here saying we were going to go ahead and ask for an abundance. If we look at the same 9 schools and we look at the percentage of the budget spent on salaries and benefits for teachers, we're dead last. The last 3 years, we were 9th, 8th, and 9th. And if I take the average of that and divide it by 6, that's $938,000 on average per year that we spend less of our budget than the other schools in the top 9 schools. Now, I agree, you want to be fiscally responsible, but if we took the average that we don't spend, we subtracted from the average we don't spend, that we're less than with teachers' salaries, that's still $1.7 million. Then if I go find that, that's 5.8%. I subtract that from the 29 that we have, that's 23%. We're still the most fiscally responsible district of those 9. We still roll over 23.36%. Still the most fiscally responsible. So there's $900,000 right there.
Well, I believe that the school district spends anywhere from 70-some to close to 80 over the last many years % on salaries and benefits.
On salaries and benefits for?
Well, for everyone.
For everybody. This is teachers' salaries and benefits. not administrators, not, not superintendents, assistants, those,
You mean not-
teachers, salaries for teachers, benefits and salaries for teachers. That's what I compared.
Is there a reason that when Mr. Reep offered to answer any questions or discuss these things that you didn't discuss these with him, so that there might have been some things cleared up before
Well,
coming to the
this is-
table?
Things are
This is-
perfectly clear. They come out
it's straight up.
of our budgets. We went online for this. We didn't go
Right.
anywhere else.
It's
They're on our
straight up.
website. Those are our numbers, so we didn't really have to ask many questions. They're there.
But wouldn't you want the explanation and to find out why that is? I feel
Well-
that you're sitting here, that you are expecting us to answer these questions, and we can to the best of our ability, but I believe Mr. Reed probably can answer those better. I think I've answered what I can on why there's a big carryover.
Well, you wanted us to, okay, how do we, you looked at that and you kind of went, whoa. We just proved. It's $900,000. Yeah.
What I-
That's salaries and benefits.
What I hear over and over, I think, is, and I think where maybe the hangup is this, the new money. And it's always, the new money. And we've kind of went along with that forever, it seems like, quite a while, but when we started digging, we're like, oh my goodness. There was a lot of things that could have been done in the past towards teacher salaries and stuff like that. And it's not always, it can't always be just of the new money. It should be of, probably everything encompassing is what Jay's doing, and he was running numbers, and he's a numbers guy, and it makes sense.
It was really, I was amazed when I started doing it.
And when you talked about it, we were kind of looking, well, where does some of that go? And so I went back as far as we could go on our website, which is 2008, and I basically was kind of looking at line items that we didn't particularly spend. And for lack of any other word, I mean, I have a general budget, and when I get close, I want to make sure that I don't go over, but when it gets, I have a wish list in my mind, and when it gets within a month or two, I'll buy that extra supply if I know I'm not going to have a big purchase, But anyway, I went back to 2008 and on, and I looked at one line item was 430 equipment rental, or excuse me, equipment repair, and what part of that budget was never utilized. And another one I looked up, which really shocked me when you made the point that what makes you believe that or think that we're not spending it on kids and whatever. Well, this is 640, which is books and software, and these are reports off our own, our stuff. You know where I'm getting at. We see them every board meeting, I know. Books and software. So if I go back to 2008, in books and software, for some reason there was 1.225,171. So that's $1,225,000 and change that wasn't utilized in the books and software, and that directly impacted students. And I don't know about anybody else, but I hear all the time when we need books, well, let me see if we have the money. We hear from individuals. So, and the equipment repair, I'm sure you want to have a cash cow in case the boiler goes down or something. That could be very expensive. But that ended up being $385,000 over the last 2 years, and together, the total is 1.6 or $201,000 a year that just carry over in those two line items. And I'm not privy to any other ones that just, basically I see what's on the website. So that was something that was brought to our attention also in our research.
From 2008?
As far back as you could go, just kind of looking. How far back do you want me to go? Last 3 years, it's way uglier. We carried over,
We know exactly what we know that.
we left
We were on the board.
$58,000 last year in books on the table, 2015. And the year before, $61,000.
I don't know the particular circumstances of those line items as far as why they weren't spent. Now, but, I mean, I don't. It could be there was a savings, it could be that the item was not needed or was not requested, or perhaps it's delayed for some reason. Now, you do recall when we negotiated quite large raises 2 years ago, the school district postponed several things we were going to do in order to make those raises possible, such as purchasing the land for the new middle school. That was already allocated in the budget. We had Mr. Reap redo all the figuring so that we could make those raises happen.
Wasn't that bonded?
Not the land.
No? Okay. What was the transfer this year, a month ago? Or two?
Remember, $2.2 million was transferred to the middle school inter-fund, inter-transfer fund, 2.2 million dollars roughly,
Yes.
just in February.
Right. Mhm. Do you want Mr. Reap to answer why that was? Are you,
Yeah, sure.
because we as a board know, but he will probably be able to explain that.
The 2.2 was part of the board's budget to make the middle school project complete. The total project stands at 68 million right now, and 65 was bonded. And so the transfer was done for FF&E and other items. And the FF&E for that building is 3 million for student desks and all of that, so. And then maybe just a comment since I have the floor. Look at the website for the 14-15 numbers, Mr. Fay, and those line items. They match per penny, rounded. And they're on the website. And they're in the state report to the penny.
So our state
So-
report is
so-
right here.
Yeah, so I can review the state report, and then I'd sure like to go over those revenue numbers one more time so that the audience is aware that there is a discrepancy, but it's not in the district side.
So it's
Well,
on
if
the
you- if you-
DPI side then?
If you'd like to go over those, we'd sure be willing to share these numbers. We could probably do that in 2 minutes, and then we could set our next meeting. So if you'd like to
Sure.
read those numbers again, we can sure go over them.
Okay, so this. Because the numbers that DPI has on this, on their school finances,
Which number are we looking at?
the 14-15,
Which fund?
local county revenue. Local county revenue states in this document, 10,070,418 and change.
General fund?
It says local and county revenue.
Okay, so you're not looking at general fund.
Okay. Well, then explain how that number is arrived at then.
3 million of it is to pay debt.
So what was the number Mr. Reap gave?
7,536,135. And that
You're off by
matches.
26 cents.
I'm off by 26 cents. I rounded it.
You should be ashamed.
And that's in the state report that goes to Mr. Coleman. Mr. Sullivan, Dr. Sullivan has a copy of that. So I don't know what you're looking at, but you're mixing fund groups together.
That's what's happening, is you're combining the fund groups, and all of that money did not go into the general fund, gentlemen.
And the other two numbers are exactly right also. Look at the July
The foundation
14th
aid.
board supporting or financial documents. They're there.
The oil and gas is listed at $2,052,000.83. $2,052,083.36.
I dropped to 36 cents. Sorry.
So, yes, to answer your question, Mr. Reap has told me that he does stand by his numbers.
Can you break out where the other, obviously the 10.07, if you go with this, it leaves so much more money. Is that the mills that are for buildings and things like that as well then? Is that where that's at?
And debt services.
And how many mills is that for each one of those?
Actually, if you add up all the county money, it's 11,032,768, if you add it all in. Mr. Coleman doesn't count all of that in whatever document you looked at, but Dr. Sullivan has it. He'd have to go to the building fund. I think it was 1.3 million for the 10 mills of the building fund, and almost 2.5 million in debt services, which is paying off our debt. Some of that's for the middle school already.
There's a discrepancy in the state foundation aid. Can that be addressed?
In the state
That's
foundation
exactly
aid,
correct, too.
Mr. Reed listed our per pupil state foundation aid as $25,625,419.25.
I think
Would that
Mr.
match with what he provided to the DEA, Mr. Pay?
Well, I'm looking at the state revenue in this document published by DPI as 26,992.
Well, that's not, but where the discrepancy was, I thought, was in the numbers that he provided to the DEA. And I'm just curious if 25,625,419 comports with the information he provided to the DEA. It does?
Yes.
Okay, thank
And
you.
Dr. Sullivan, the document that you're referring, that you have in front of you, is that from the July?
This is from the 13th day of July 2015, the Dickinson Public School District Number 1 Financial Report. Affidavit of the business manager. I do solemnly swear that to the best of my knowledge and belief, the information within is a true and correct report of all revenue and expenditures of the school district, and it's signed by Vince Reed.
And again, I'm wondering why, if you saw discrepancies and had questions, it wasn't brought to us before the meeting. It feels very disrespectful the way it was done.
Well, it certainly wasn't meant to be disrespectful, Mrs. Ricks. It certainly was not.
Okay, now that we've cleared the air on that, perhaps we could schedule the next meeting date and time, and hopefully continue to make some progress. Anybody want to propose a date and time?
Next Tuesday is coach meets. Wednesday would work.
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
the 27th.
The 27th.
maybe?
Well, I don't have the 27th. No, I don't have that week, so you're gonna have to help me. I'm out of town on the evening of the 27th and the 28th, right?
I'm sorry to misplace it. Yes, we're out.
So I'm out of town on the evening of the 27th and the 28th, serving on a committee for DPI.
Do the 25th.
We go Monday.
Monday's open.
I am not available that night. Sorry. I don't know if you are, but
In the afternoon, we have a school improvement team meeting. Or
yeah, that would run into this.
Are you guys,
Sullivan's not here.
The
when you
following
get
year?
Oh, the
the
fourth.
26th,
We talking?
you have a turn.
Yeah, we have a book meeting on the
Tuesday?
26th.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are supposed to.
Does next Thursday work for anybody? Does next
Would you
Thursday
really-
work for anybody?
Thursday, the 28th?
actually, that would be okay.
We're gone. You can't leave business before 3:30.
On the 28th?
If you're in business that Thursday.
Well, I can be back in time.
That would
We can do that
Go a little bit later if we need to.
No, plenty of time.
Okay.
6 o'clock, is that what we're thinking?
Pardon?
Are we thinking 6 PM?
Yes, is that agreeable with everybody?
Yes.
Okay, the 28th of Thursday, the 28th at 6 PM for the next meeting. And a quick debrief. There was discussion about the financial information, and at the end of the meeting, we were able to clear up the discrepancies between the numbers and verify that the data Mr. Reed provided to the DEA on the financial information for the school district was in fact accurate. There was a discussion about Superblock and provided some clarification about the reason why Superblock is on the list of topics for these negotiations. And the school board presented a proposal to the DEA regarding recruitment of highly qualified and experienced teachers, clarifying the definition of national certification and the definition of teacher as a package proposal. And the DEA wanted a little bit more time to review that information prior to signing it as a tentative agreement. It will be one of the first topics on the agenda when we convene on April 28th. Did I miss anything?
You know, as we look at scheduling these meetings, we are getting close to our deadline. I feel like we can't proceed with salary proposals till we're agreeing on the numbers. This happened last time, and now it's happening again. We need to be sure that we are all agreeing on the numbers so that we can talk about the salaries and other things that cost money.
I believe last time we did agree on the salaries. He and I sat down and we did agree with that. The time before,
Yes.
obviously, we did not, but last time we did.
We agreed on a number last time and it shrunk immensely. So that's what happened last time. It was the time before that.
So the question I have is, are we going to be able to proceed and be able to discuss salaries? Are you going to be able to come to an agreement on the numbers? Or Mr. Reap is available all the time to meet with you at any time and talk about the discrepancies or not? It feels to me like we are spinning our wheels. We're discussing 2008, we're discussing 2014. I realize you weren't answering my question. But I'm feeling frustrated and like we're just really not moving forward because salaries is the main topic that we're all here to talk about. Other things, yes, are important as well, but salaries is always the big ticket item.
Understand feeling frustrated. We felt very frustrated the first 3 meetings when we were spinning our wheels on ground rules. And I don't know how else to say that. We too want to finish, believe me.
Why don't you come with a proposal based on what you think you have or for the numbers? Come with a proposal next time and we'll take a look.
Well, if you're not agreeing that these are the numbers, it's almost meaningless for us to put forth a proposal based on the numbers.
Well, we threw out a proposal.
Yes, you did.
In fact, we have all our proposals on the table. I think you still have 3, possibly. We talked about,
They've all been discussed, Mr. Chair.
they've all been discussed, but we don't know what you're thinking on management rights clause,
School calendar.
school calendar. It'd be nice to see some proposals.
We are working on developing those. Our main concern really is the numbers and the salary. The others we feel we can probably resolve. But, it's to me a big concern that we're $1 million apart on how much money is available. That is a huge concern.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned.